everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another live Q&A coaching call. I'm so excited to be able to offer these just as a free resource to anybody and everybody who's in the Jess Lee Fitness community who just wants their questions answered. Gatekeeping is old news, especially when it comes to women's health, because there's way too much information out there and we just don't know what's real. And to be perfectly honest, the only way you're going to know is by listening to your body. Your body is the best messenger for what works for you, but there are some foundational concepts that when you understand them and have confidence in them, wow, it really takes you places and allows you to explore even more and get more clear about what's going to work for you. So before we dive in, a couple announcements. Iced oatmeal cookie level 1 just dropped on the First Form website. This flavor used to be a vegan Power Pro flavor, but everyone was asking for it in the classic whey protein. Something I want to say about level 1 protein. Level 1 protein has a 2 to 3 hour digestion rate, whereas Formula 1 digests very quickly. So if you're someone who struggles to stay full and feel satiated, level 1 is going to be where I'm going to turn you to because it'll keep you fuller for longer. And if you're someone who likes Formula 1 because it's thinner, they have changed the formula of level 1 and it's just as thin now, mixes really easily, so on and so forth. So if you want to give that a try, especially if you're trying to like do some protein baking, I just made a really funny reel about it, about how your grandma's going to be sad. You're never going to call her for iced oatmeal cookies anymore. So that's on there. Next thing is that the summer apparel does still have lots of sizes, lots of colors still available. That is not something you want to miss out on, especially the long length t-shirts. The bras are really feminine. There's lots of paneling, so it's still supportive. So go check that out. Go peek at it. The 6-inch shorts for my F45ers. Again, the paneling is so good looking, but the 6-inch allows you to like do cardio and not have to yank them down all the time. So those are my 2 announcements. Otherwise, I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening, pouring into yourself. The messaging that I am working on in the Jess Lee Fitness community is that we are made for more. We are made for more than being confused about our own bodies. We are made for more than being self-conscious. We are made for more than not getting the promotion because we didn't step into it confidently or step into our job with energy because we slept poorly. All the reasons why we are not at 100% in our life, not in the pressure to be perfect 100%, but feeling 100%, because you know what? That is possible. We were made for that. And I'm going to help you get there. So we're going to dive right in. The first question that has been coming up a lot is food timing, because you could eat, let's say 1,500 calories a lot of different ways, and you'll be hungry at different times of the day, depending on food timing. So once you conquer how to get your calories, that's where you can start to play with your food timing. The biggest one to recognize is that if you're really, really struggling to stay in a calorie deficit, I would recommend pushing your breakfast as late as possible, because usually we just eat breakfast out of obligation. We don't eat breakfast because we're hungry. Now, I don't love this recommendation because women really flourish with constant blood sugar balance all day long from the moment we wake up. In reality, we want to eat a high protein meal or high protein something within an hour of waking up. That's for women, especially. Men, go ahead and intermittent fast. But if you really just cannot fit your calories in your day, push breakfast as best as you can. Next thing, and this is going to contradict a little bit for my early morning exercisers, which is most of you, we want to eat a little bit of a carb right before our workout. And we want to eat carbs and protein. We know the protein, but carbs as well after a workout. Carbs after a workout is going to refuel our muscle so that our muscle isn't chasing carbs all day long. If we can replenish our muscle, because our carbs totally fly out of our muscle during a workout, if we can put the carbs back in our muscle right away, our muscle isn't going to be stealing energy and fuel from our meals through the rest of the day. So that's really going to help you. Sweet potato, pineapple, fruit. Yeah, 4:30 a.m. carbs, my early morning exercisers. Now, most of my younger gals do a little tiny Rice Krispie treat. I'm not the biggest fan of processed sugar, especially first thing in the morning. Your blood vessels just are not going to appreciate that. But a medium ripe, so I'll do half a banana before the workout, and then I'll do half a banana with my protein shake after the workout. And so that way I don't have some weird half cut banana browning somewhere. Pineapple is a great fruit to start with if you just want to do pineapple and a little bit of zero fat Greek yogurt. Again, have it with your protein afterwards. Sweet potatoes an option. That's a little complex for the morning. When I was younger, just the creamer in my coffee was enough to give my blood sugar a little. Because here's the thing, when we exercise, we want our body to go grab the stored energy. But our body cannot access stored glycogen without blood sugar first. Like in the anaerobic cycle, anaerobic glycolysis, we've got to have blood sugar first. Then we can grab the stored glycogen. Then we can grab the stored fat that are aerobic. So just a little something and test it out. Try it out. Maybe it's a bite of a bar. While that has other components to it that are going to slow down that blood sugar release, having just a bite of something, you're going to feel so much more energy, so much more strength. So food timing, push your breakfast if you're feeling like you can't fit all your calories in the day. Have a pre and post workout meal, and then really get to know your hunger cues. So for me, if I'm hungry between lunch and dinner, before I grab a snack, what I'm going to ask myself is I'm going to look back at that last meal and say, okay, how much protein was in it? How much fiber was in it? Were the carbs in it complex enough to keep my blood sugar going to the next meal? How much water have I had? And did I exercise more than I normally do or get more steps than I normally do by this time? So rather than feeling confused, bummed out, defeated by your hunger, understand where it's coming from, because this is really going to help you long term when you're not tracking, because we're not going to track forever. So get to know why are you hungry and then address it the next day. And then if you do find some people's metabolisms are just fast. Now, we don't want to be those kind of people that are like, my cortisol's high, my metabolism's slow, my metabolism's fast. Unless you know, unless a professional has told you like you have a fast metabolism. Again, you have that attunement to know if you have a fast metabolism and your body just uses that fuel really quickly, you're going to be hungry in between meals. This is where you just want to recognize what serves hunger. Meeting hunger where it's at means you are balancing your blood sugar, which means you are having carbs, but you're either having a slow digested carb, so a complex carb, a high fiber carb, brown rice, potatoes, a fibrous veggie. Those digest really slowly. They're not going to spike you and crash you. Or you're having a carb with a protein, preferably, or a little fat. And that's, again, going to slow that release and keep you satiated for longer. For me, I have a scoop of level 1 or Formula 1, depending on what mood I'm in, what flavor I want in between my meals when I'm hungry. It's so shocking how easily it satisfies you. And if it doesn't, there's a chance that this hunger is coming from emotion, stress, boredom, and that's a different topic. So those are my tips on food timing. If there was any other concept that's coming up, drop it in the chat. Stephanie, thanks for joining us. Drop any questions in the chat or I'll open it up here soon. Next topic we're going to talk about is eating while you're in maintenance calories. So the journey that people take with me, and it's the most sustainable and fun and wonderful journey for your body, is when we want to lose body fat, we eat in a calorie deficit. We eat less than we're burning. Once you get to your goal body fat, or you like where you're at, you feel good about where you're at, or you honestly just want more food, what I'll do is I'll reverse you slowly back to your maintenance calories. Now, if you were eating 1,500 calories and I suddenly shot you up to 2,100, I mean, to be honest, if your body's burning 2,100 calories a day, it should be able to eat 2,100 calories a day and not gain any weight. But because your body's been in this deficit for a while, we can't just jump there. And so every 2 weeks or so, I'll slowly bring your calories up to kind of trick and hack your body, say, here's a little more fuel, use it. Use it. We're still in a deficit. You don't have to store it. Use it. Right when we get to maintenance, then your body's like, perfect. She's giving me exactly what I'm burning. But when we're in maintenance, we have to be being in maintenance is harder than being in a deficit. And I'm sure you're like, no way, spill the tea. But when you're in maintenance, it's really easy to not be in maintenance. You're right at that bumper. And so if you have a day where you didn't track accurately, you went out, forgot to track something, whatever it is, your scale broke, your food scale, and you're not in maintenance, you're going to run the risk of that storing that extra. Now, hopefully, because you're hitting your protein goal, you're exercising regularly, you're eating healthy, your gut health's doing great because you're using OptiGreens 50, plug. Maybe that extra you're eating is pouring into your muscle, pouring into your strength. But just recognize that maintenance is a really beautiful place to be, to actually see you gain muscle while still losing body fat. They always say, like, you can't have both. Well, in maintenance, you can, but it's slow. It's really slow. It takes a long time, like 8, 9 months, but you feel really good during it because you have all this fuel. You have the amount of fuel that your body wants and needs. So something to look forward to for those of you who are getting close to or on your journey. Maybe you're like, how long is this going to take? You're going to get there, and then I'm going to give you some more food. Next is going to be confidence during a weight increase time or a muscle gain time. I have some people who are ready to, they got to their goal weight and they're like, I want to put on muscle now. Here's the thing. When you're eating in a calorie deficit, one of two things, or sorry, a calorie surplus, you're eating more than you're burning. One of two things is going to happen. You're going to gain fat or you're going to gain muscle. And how do we make sure the one we want happens, not the other? It's we hit our protein, we get enough steps, and we do resistance training and take creatine. However, we can't just gain muscle. To be perfectly honest, it takes months for a woman to gain even 1 pound of muscle. And while I know that the in-body scans tell you gained 5 pounds of muscle and lost 5 pounds of fat, that's why your scale hasn't changed. Not technically the case. Really hard to do. A lot of the times your muscle just has more vasculature, which means there's more water in it. Your muscle is more dense, right? So there's those pounds of muscle, but as far as muscle size, not seeing too much of it. Anyway, you are going to get a little fluffy in the areas where there's not that pronounced big muscle. So essentially your stomach is going to get a little fluffy water weight. And we have to be okay with that. We have to know that I'm disciplined. I know I'm going to be able to lose this body fat, but if I want my muscles to pop, we're going to have to, pay our dues in that way. And the way you'll understand this is when you've lost all the body fat that you want and you still feel, because what's going to happen when you lose body fat is the muscle you have is going to start to pop off your body. But for me, my leg muscles just won't pop off my body because I don't have a lot of leg muscles down there. And so I have to be willing to go into a surplus, build my leg muscle, and then know that I'll be able to take that extra body fat that came along with it off. Again, long journey, but it keeps it fun. It keeps it exciting. This is your lifestyle. Change your goal, get new goals, play, have fun, and know that you're healthy and vibrant and energized the whole time. When we release the scale, when we release the mirror a little bit and know that we're doing the right thing to feel strong and awesome and disciplined and confident, you'll feel confident even with that little bit of water weight in your stomach because you saw how much more you squatted that day. You saw the way your legs popped when you were standing in that one picture. So I'll always be there to remind you of why we're making that choice and the things to look for outside of the scale or the mirror. Somebody asked about colostrum, which I'm really excited to talk about because it's new, it's hot. That other brand Armra is really popular, but boy, is it expensive. And I wasn't able to find a standardized promise on there of how much we're really getting in each tub. And that's hard. That's something I look for in brands. What's the standardized potency? And they don't have that. But before I get into my recommendation, what colostrum does, we know it's the first bit of milk that comes out. Let me just tell you right now that First Farms colostrum, they make sure that these grass-fed cows their babies are getting the first bit of colostrum and then they collect the rest. So as far as morality, First Farm's in a good spot. Colostrum is so nutrient dense. And what they're finding, what they've found with colostrum is it actually heals your gut lining. So when we eat processed food, gluten, alcohol, it's really gluten does this. Gluten pokes holes in our gut lining. And so everything we eat, all that acidity, all that undigested food, the bacteria, good and bad, mostly bad, leaks out into the rest of our body. And so if you have anything going on that just doesn't feel right, it's likely because all that junk, good or bad, in your gut is just floating around in your body. So we want to heal the gut lining. OptiGreens 50 is going to pour into the probiotics, the digestive enzymes, and make your gut come to life, digest everything. But if there are holes, leaky gut syndrome, then we're not going to be in the best spot. So if you've been taking OptiGreens 50 and feel like something's still off, acne, migraines, whatever it may be, colostrum is going to be a great tool for you. Even if you're unsure, I would recommend trying it for 2 to 3 months and seeing how it changes the way you feel. And really just take note. Again, we're listening to our body. Our body is the best communicator. The second thing that colostrum does is it is loaded with these immunoglobulins and antibodies that make your immune system a freaking superhero. Wow. I can't tell you how many times I have been on it, on my nutrition, on my fitness, so energized, so excited for what's to come. And what happens? You catch a cold. Always. Now, I could talk to you about your internal thermostat and how we subconsciously or consciously self-sabotage ourselves because of what we believe our worthiness is. But again, different story. To get your immune system so fired up to maintain, especially to my moms out there, yikes. Your kids are doing summer sports right now. They're going to summer camp. You know they're coming home sick. Really, really helpful, especially if you're someone who feels really defeated when you get off track, when it feels out of your hands from that. So that's colostrum, mixes into anything. It has a smell, but it's flavorless. I put it in my greens every night. I will link it in the description, but First Forms is the way to go. It's got that standardized potency. Does anybody have any questions so far? That I have a couple more to go, but I want to open it up to my live people who took the time to be here. Any questions? You can drop them in the chat, unmute. If not, I'll keep going. Okay. Next up, we have how many rest days should I take off, or should I take rest days while strength training? Oh, I love this question. Let me just say this. The fitness industry never told women not to rest. I know that I'm not a fan of hustle culture. It's not my vibe. And the grind. Now, sleep when you're dead. That's a concept that we should not be playing with. But the fitness industry never told women don't rest. But my mom asked me this a lot. I went to the gym yesterday. Should I go today? So your individual muscle needs 24 hours of rest in order to perform maximally again. But here's the thing. If you're going to the gym, first of all, are you doing your 1 rep max, your max lift 1 rep on all those muscles? Probably not. Are you expecting your muscle to do that tomorrow? Probably not. Now, ideally, we do let the muscle rest 24 hours at least so that it can mend, heal, get rid of the acidity, the metabolic waste. But if you are active, moving, stretching, drinking water, eating protein, just living the lifestyle, it's okay to exercise the same muscle twice, especially for my people who are in functional, doing workout classes where you don't get to pick, right? Like, oh, I did legs yesterday. So just recognize that is why we try to do the splits of like upper body, lower body, or even upper body muscles that push, lower body muscles that push, upper body muscles that pull, lower body muscles that pull. In order to maintain the progress from your workout, and there's different ways we can progress, you need to exercise that muscle at least once a week. So we don't want to take a week, more than a week off from training our biceps or from training our back. So take note of that. But days off, you're not taking a day off from movement. Let's be clear. You're just taking a day off from that modality of exercise. Because if you're doing the same modality 7 days a week, you're probably going to run into cortisol. When we exercise, it releases cortisol. That's a good thing. If a tiger is chasing me, my cortisol better flood in. It'd be a bummer. I wouldn't be here if it didn't. But if we are chronically hitting our body with cortisol, that chronic cortisol is going to lead to chronic inflammation. You're going to get irregular cycles. You're going to get stubborn belly fat. You're going to have fatigue, so on and so forth. And so just check in with your performance and how you're sleeping. You should not feel exhausted after a workout. That's how you know that you either pushed too hard or you should have taken the day off. So get to know that. When you're if you're not on birth control and you still have a cycle, when you are about 10 days before your cycle starts, those 10 days and during your cycle, I'd recommend 2 to 3 rest days a week. Again, you're still getting your 10,000 steps a day. You're still moving your body, but maybe you go to yoga. Maybe you just sit on a stationary bike and pedal for 30 to 60 minutes. You're still moving your body, but we're not doing the progressive overload, stressing it past a point where we're trying to get it stronger and better and pushing it. So not the most direct answer. I know I'm a big, it depends person. It depends. So I hope that makes sense. And if you want a more prescriptive for you, just let me know. I'll look at what you're doing and give some recommendations. Next up, we have ideas for fiber. Okay, so first we need to understand why we need fiber, because otherwise there's no point in knowing how to get it. On a nutrition label, we have carbs, and you'll notice underneath the carbs, it says sugar and fiber. So carbohydrates are either going to be sugar or fiber. So just know that fruit is sugar, and that's okay. It's not processed sugar. It's not going to be that super damaging, super high glycemic sugar that's scratching at our blood vessels and damaging it, causing that plaque to come in. It's just a type of chain of carbon to hydrogen to oxygen, CHO. So fiber is non-digestible. It's really fibrous, right? So it's spiky. And when it goes through our system, because it's not digestible, we can't store it. So fiber carbohydrates cannot be stored. Now you're in a calorie deficit, so you're not going to store anything anyway, right? But the beauty of fiber, and we want a minimum of 20 grams a day. I like getting 40. I do. Unless you're brand new to loading up on your protein, maybe don't do 40 grams of fiber. You'll get stuck. But 20 to 40 grams. And when it goes through us, it really drags, it rakes everything through that's maybe stuck. So it's going to help with elimination, help with bloating, help with gut health, especially the prebiotic fiber. So you're going to get this in your chicory vegetables or in green bananas. Those are the best for your gut. They found that when you eat fermented food, so probiotic rich food, when it really, really does work for our system is when you're having it in unison with those prebiotic fibers, green bananas, the chicory vegetables. Chicory vegetables are going to be radicchio, endive, and you can find salad mixes that have that in it. I found one at Trader Joe's. It's romaine and chicory. So good. So some ways to get fiber that I really like is avocado. But again, you have to be mindful of if that effort to get fiber is going to send you over on your calories, because avocado is fatty. So when I have an avocado, I only use a quarter of an avocado unless I'm pre-tracking and know that I can have that half of an avocado. Berries are going to have fiber in them, but it takes a lot to get a lot, but they are fiber rich and have so many other benefits. And the like carrot, corn, peas, like frozen veggie medley is great. But you know where you're going to find the most fiber is in our grains, brown rice, tortillas, um, things like that, whole grain bread. It's shocking how much fiber is in there. But keep in mind that you're going to get a lot of calories for a little bit of food. And while that food is going to keep your blood sugar stable for a nice amount of time because it's a complex carb, it's a high fiber carb, just know that you're only going to get this much brown rice when you could be eating this much carrot, peas, corn, broccoli, right? So get to know if you're the kind of person that food volume, which is actually our next topic. Wow, I'm good. If you're more of a food volume keeps you full, or you're more of like calorie dense keeps you full, complex carbs. Again, this is a lifestyle. You're not going to mess it up. Just because you're not perfect doesn't mean you're off track. That is like the new soapbox I'm standing on is imperfect does not mean off track. I think we just use it as an excuse to slow down and stop. So, if you are not getting enough fiber and you're hungry at times, irregular at times, now you know why. Now you have a solution to kind of take a stab at it rather than micromanaging all the potential ways you could be hungry. Just try and increase your fiber. See how it goes. Volume eating. Oh, this changed everything for me. I really, really love meat, fruit, veggie. I love that approach. And if we can get that simple with it, and here's the thing, if you're cooking for your family, you have your meat, fruit, veggie, they have the cheese and the sauce and the rice. I make 3 different meals for most meals, most days. So I take what my toddler is going to eat, and then I add to mine, whether it's more protein or different veggies or protein. And then I'll add from mine to Andrew's the cheese, the sauce, maybe the avocado, maybe the fried egg, whatever I'm making. I have no idea what I would have been making there, but fried rice. So meat, fruit, veggie. Why does this work for me? 1, it's really easy to track because it's really simple. 2, I'm prioritizing protein, but I can focus on hitting my protein with my meat and not worrying about my calories going over because veggies and fruit, it's really hard to go over on your calories when you're just eating fruits, veggies, and meats. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're someone who really loves getting their protein from dairy, like non-fat cottage cheese, non-fat Greek yogurt, go for it. But just know that dairy and gluten are going to cause water retention. And I was getting sick of, I'm like, my arms and my legs look good, but why do I have this little bit? It was water weight in my tummy. I wasn't bloated. It wasn't like pinchable fat. It was just water, just a little ripple. It was gluten and dairy, alcohol. So keep those things in mind that cause water retention and inflammation. If you're willing to give it a shot, try this meat, fruit, and veggie. Because what's cool about it is you can fill your plate with so many veggies. And it's not going to be a ton of calories. Now we want to make sure we're hitting our calories. We don't want to be under eating because then we'll definitely be hungry. But this much food in my stomach is going to make me feel so much more full than the rice with my steak versus steak, zucchini, broccoli, mushrooms, onions, this huge plate. I almost can't finish it sometimes. Now, we really want to make sure we chew, and get that digested because, again, fibrous things hard to digest. It's going to slow things down. And that saliva in our mouth is what is the initial thing that breaks down our food the most to really support that. But it's just been such a great thing to give myself more volume in my food for the same amount of calories than not, especially with that faster metabolism. And I can always come back to that bowl and finish it later too. If you make a bowl so big with fruits, veggies, and things. So give that a shot and try that. And remember that you do have a new feature in the app where you can take a picture of your plate, or I think a little more accurately too, if I get to the end of my day and I haven't tracked a thing, I used to be like, I can't go back on my day. What? I have no idea. But now I can just sit there and be like, for lunch, I had, 2 pieces of whole grain bread, half an avocado, 4 ounces of deli meat, and a cup of arugula, right? That was like an open face sandwich. And it would put it in an itemized. I'm not searching, editing, typing. Now you still want to be aware of what the portion was that you had, but what a great tool, right? If you didn't already know that, go AI. So, highly recommend volume eating as long as you're staying within your calories. And if you notice that you are incredibly hungry because of it, you may need to have more protein in the situation, more fat in the situation to kind of keep things stabilized. Again, test it out. So those were the questions that I had from everyone over the weekend. Watching live, if you have anything, want to drop it in the chat if anything's come up for you. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap us up.
Wait, I have something to ask.
Okay. Hi, Steph.
Hi. So I've been in this really bad habit of controlling my calories during the day so I could have lots of calories of sweets. It's so bad. And I'm thinking, oh, it's okay that I can eat these sweets because I am not over my calorie thing yet, but I know that's not healthy. And can you just speak to that?
Yes, totally. Thank you for bringing that up. When people are first getting into calorie tracking, I say, hey, you can still have that stuff, but you got to make room for it. This gets a bad rep because it's, oh, if it fits in my calories, I can eat it. I can have McDonald's and soda and whatever because it fits. But that's just so you can get to know what that calorie amount feels like. Get used to tracking without feeling like you're totally uprooting your life and your habits and the things you enjoy. Once you conquer your calories, once you conquer tracking, then you start to recognize, is this food serving me? So then we start to listen to our body as the messenger. How did that make me feel? Also, was I starving, cranky, lacked energy all day long because I was saving up for this meal? That after I had that meal, I was hungry within minutes because my blood sugar dropped out because it was this high processed thing. And I feel guilty and shame because I still know even if I'm in my calories, it still isn't good, right? So yeah, and also I doubt that you hit your protein goal for the day. Saving that many calories for whatever that was, we probably saved some of those by robbing ourselves of some protein. So even if you lost the weight from being in a calorie deficit, you won't look the way you want to look because we maybe didn't get enough protein. And again, that water retention, that inflammation from those foods is just going to leave your body feeling puffy and ripply and having shame, guilt, lots of cravings. So then what the next step would save up for a treat that's healthy. So I do some recommendations I do is, you know what? If you really need to get over this, get yourself a Ninja Creamy and make yourself some protein ice cream. Is that investment worth it for you to have protein and milk as your treat? Another thing could be I really like rice cakes, peanut butter, honey, cinnamon, and even some zero sugar chocolate chips. Right. So we're still eating those calories, but now can we focus on the quality? Once we conquer the quality of that and we start to feel better, then we can lower the portion of it. Still, again, getting that little dopamine hit from that little treat. And then maybe you omit it and maybe you don't. So you really got to be kind with yourself, give yourself grace, and reflect a lot on how does this make me feel? What's a different option? Am I really doing this because I'm hungry or I want the dopamine hit? Can half the portion give me a dopamine hit? And I've gotten to a point where now it's a warm cup of tea and 2 dark chocolate squares on like a cute little vintage saucer that I got from the thrift store. And I sit there and I'm grateful for it and it's lovely. Now you're not going to feel like that every day. Emotion, boredom, whatever turn of events. But that's my recommendation. Does that fare well for you, Stephanie?
Yeah, that helps, especially if you could say to me every day, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel guilty, you're going to not, this is not good for you. I'd have to hear that every day because, but no, I am going to try those sugar-free chocolate chips because I do love those ones from Lily brand. And yeah, making my own, like when I do garbanzo bean cookies with, I just really have to do it, you
Yeah.
know.
I would focus on the quality of the treat and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
doing the homemade, maybe it's a high protein treat. Um, you'd be surprised like zero fat Greek yogurt and then get some dark chocolate, melting chocolate, melt
Yes.
put it in the freezer for
Mm.
minutes. That's a little cracked smash bowl. Yeah.
Okay. I love all those suggestions. Thank you so much.
Yes. For those of you in my elevated coaching program too, you'll get calorie specific meal plans. And I'm deciding as I build them out whether I want to incorporate a sheet with treats on them. So I will maybe take it person by person, but give you some treat options too that fit into your calories. So, yeah. Okay. So we are going to wrap it up as a reminder. We need to remember why we are doing this. At the end of the day, we don't want to feel like we're forcing what we're doing. I think that what we think about is I want this goal, so I got to do all these things to get there. We should want all these things. I want to be hydrated. I want to feel energized from my food. I want to be strong. And so the actions you're taking to get to your goal, I desire that so much more. And reaching my goal is just here's the way to say it. When people train for, Stacey, you're going to love this. When people train for a half marathon, the race is not the race. Crossing that finish line, that wasn't it. It was training for it. That was the race. That was the challenge. That's what made it all worth it. We want to arrive to this place and we think we'll be happy when we get there, but we wouldn't be happy getting there if we didn't do everything to get there. So every step of the way, even in the face of resistance, and be honest with yourself about what you really want to do, what you're willing to do, you know, enjoy it because you're building a life and it's unfamiliar. Because the woman you want to be, you don't know her yet. Her. But if you can keep making choices and building and stacking those bricks, brick by brick to build her life, wow, the identity you're going to feel with her, the more you're going to get to know her. And one day you're going to cross that finish line. You say, I'm here. Let's make a new goal. Evolve, change, grow, and face that resistance. Okay. I'm going to set you free. This is going to cut me off anyway. Thank you so much for being here live. Thank you to those of you watching the recording. Don't forget to engage and post and share in the Justly Fitness community because we can go fast alone, but we will go far together. Remember that you are made for more than settling. I love you. I care about you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.